Good morning, and welcome to the Todd County Board of Commissioners regular meeting. Today is Tuesday, July 20th. The time is 9 a.m. All commissioners are present along with the auditor, treasurer, and the coordinator. We will stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Are there any amendments to the agenda?
I have none, Madam Chair.
Okay. If not, I will ask for a motion for the approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Motion Kircher. Is there a second?
Second.
Second Kanizel. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries. And Denise?
Potential consent items today, excuse me, meeting minute approval, July 6, 2021. Hire clerical intern Megan Benning. Gambling permit, Rotary Club of Sauk Center. Long Prairie Lions one-day temporary on-sale liquor license.
Okay, is there a motion for the consent items?
So moved.
Motion by Erickson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second Newman. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed and carried. Denise?
Okay, the first item I have then is the commissioner warrants, background is sent for review. And the recommendation is to approve the commissioner warrants with an ACH and a regular manual payment totaling in the amount of $128,125.02.
Is there a motion for approval of the commissioner warrants?
So moved.
Motion by Newman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Kanizel. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, we'll do roll call.
Commissioner Newman,
Yes.
Commissioner Kneisel,
Yes.
Commissioner Erickson,
Yes.
Commissioner Kircher,
Yes.
Commissioner Becker.
Yes.
Next item I have then is the Health and Human Service Commissioner warrants. Background is sent for review. Recommendation is to approve the Health and Human Service warrants with an ACH and a regular manual payment totaling the amount of $89,783.03.
Is there a motion for the Health and Human Service Commissioner warrants?
So moved.
Motion by Erickson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Kircher. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, roll call.
Commissioner Erickson,
Yes.
Commissioner Kircher,
Yes.
Commissioner Kneisel,
Yes.
Commissioner Newman,
Yes.
Commissioner Becker.
Yes.
The next item is the Health and Human Service SSIS warrants. Background sent for review. To approve the Health and Human Service SSIS warrants with an ACH and a regular manual payment totaling in the amount of $70,662.98.
Is there a motion for the Health and Human Services SSIS warrants?
So moved.
Motion by Kircher. Is there a second?
Second.
I didn't get.
Second, yeah.
Okay. Second by Newman. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, we'll do roll call.
Commissioner Kircher,
Yes.
Commissioner Newman,
Yes.
Commissioner Erickson,
Yes.
Commissioner Kneisel,
Yes.
Commissioner Becker.
Yes.
Next item I have then is the forfeited sale on tax forfeited, private sale on tax forfeited land. Background is parcel 09-00110202 and 21-0007702 have forfeited to the state of Minnesota for non-payment of taxes. Some more background on these. Both these parcels were adjacent landowners that we notified when this little strips of land went for sale, because they originally were part of their legal descriptions, and through splits and transfers of property, they got omitted off, and they would like to retain those back with their original legal description now that they're available to purchase them. So our recommendation is to approve the attached resolution for a private sale to these adjacent owners only.
Okay, is there a motion for the private sale on the tax forfeited land?
So moved.
Motion by Kneisel, is there a second?
Second.
Second, Newman. Discussion?
Yes, Madam Chair, in the future, could we, you guys know all these codes for these parcels, I don't know them. Could you put the township after them?
Yeah, I
It
mentioned
would
that,
be helpful to us if we could see that, so.
actually on my way up, I actually printed the
Yeah.
print screen of these two, so I would know too,
Yeah,
because,
because I don't have a clue about these parcel numbers, so,
exactly, we'll do that in the future.
thank you.
You
Yeah.
bet.
Any further discussion? Hearing no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries.
The next item I have then is to set the date, time, and location for the tax forfeited land sale. Background is a full listing of the tax forfeited parcels that will be available August 13th on a 2021 auction. If you approve this today, we will put that out in the papers and let people know. Everybody's been notified, we've done all the proper protocol. Now it's just come to the point of setting the date so we can actually have the sale. And we've had quite a bit of interest already, people calling and asking. So our recommendation is to approve a date and time and location for the tax forfeited attached resolution. And we are looking at that August 13th, 2021, to be held at 10 a.m. here in the county boardroom. I believe it says it right on the resolution. Commencing at 10, August 13th, here in the county boardroom.
Okay, is there a motion for the, let's see, date would be August 13th, time would be, you said
10
10 a.m., and location would be at the county board room
That's correct.
for the tax forfeited land auction.
So moved.
Motion by Kneisel, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Erickson. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries.
Last item then is the Sauk River Watershed Board of Managers appointment. Background, the Todd County Board of Commissioners is seeking applicants for appointment of the Sauk River Watershed District Board of Managers for a regular term expiring June 30th, that expired June 30th, 2021. The positions have been advertised in the newspapers and applicants' information received by the June 25th deadline. The commissioners have met with each of the three applicants at the July 6th meeting and during a work session in preparation for this appointment. Your options are to appoint or do not appoint, and the recommendation you guys can discuss now is who you're going to appoint for this 3-year term.
Okay, I do, before I ask for a motion or for appointment, I do have the resignation of Gary W. Barber here, that he withdrew his name from appointed as the Board of Managers to the Sauk River Watershed District. And I think you guys all seen this, so I'll lay that. And with that, I'll ask for a motion for appointment for a board member to the Watershed, Sauk River Watershed.
Madam Chair, I'd like to move Gene Manson.
Okay, there's a motion from Newman for Gene Menson. Is there a second? Is there a second? Is there a second? Receiving no second, I would ask for another motion.
What was the other guy's name? Can't remember it.
Curtis Botner.
That would be nice if they would have been on here so we could
Oh.
see him. Madam
Right
Chair,
now.
I'll move that we appoint Curtis.
Okay, we have a motion for Curtis. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Kneisel. Discussion? Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
And it would carry. Okay. Next would be the county attorneys.
kind of a wild weekend. Miss Gustafson had some children were taken out of the home, so she's doing an EPC hearing right now. She may be able to get up here. So we are here today. We've got a limited time for the county attorney's office need of another assistant county attorney to keep up with the growth that's happening, the growth in cases and the growth in, well, generally, Health and Human Services keeps growing and our law enforcement keeps growing and our caseloads keep growing. Looking at the past, and statistics aren't everything, but looking at the past 5 years, it looks like the criminal matters, we've got an average of about 650 files, and not all those, of course, are charged out, but it's grown. John, you were 6 years now, 7 years?
Pull the mic closer to you, Chuck, would you please?
6 years now for John, and I can remember when we added John, I was telling our local judge that, well, I'll be in court less because they'll be available now to do other things in the county, and here we are 6 years later, and we're in the same boat. I can put 3 full-time attorneys just on the criminal matters that are in our county, and that's kind of the way it's been going here lately. We've been splitting them up as best we can. Jane is on chips and juveniles, and she is busy. We have, where did I put those? Currently, we're at 290 criminal files. Last year at this time, we're at 272. Juvenile files, we're at 65 so far this year. We're just barely into the second part of the year. Last year, we were at 54. The CHIPS files are at 35 right now. Those are files. Those aren't the children. And Jane's handling all that herself. John will help a little bit if we need that. We've had times when James was so overwhelmed and busy with trials and things that the juvenile matters and everything else she handled would come back down to us while we're handling our full-time criminal loads. So, and what's happened too with the pandemic is it's really pushed us back. So, you know, over the years, not only are we seeing an increase in our files, but we're also backed up because of the pandemic. The cases, because of the pandemic, they're not getting resolved as quickly as they used to. My staff pulled our pending and under review cases, and we got about 350 pending or cases under review. They have us do settlement conferences in person now, and the reason they're doing that is because if you know our business, a lot of cases are settled in the hallways, and because of the pandemic, no one is communicating to settle these cases, and they seem to be pushed further back. And we see this with our private defense counsel. In other counties, they are so backed up with their trials, our jury trials. When we try to schedule something for those private defense attorneys, they're booked up in months with their jury trials, so they can't address our files, and our files are pushed back. And as we thaw out from the pandemic, we're going to see our probation violations increase, and I think we have. As we open up further, I think those are going to increase even more. The misdemeanor warrants are now active, I believe. It may sound like misdemeanors aren't much, but they do add up, and we'll probably see an increase of some of those coming back. And we've had some cases pushed back too because of the work release rules. That's open now, so some of those are coming back. We push those cases back so they could do their sentences and still keep their employment. And as I stated earlier, we are seeing an increase in criminal activity, which adds to our backlog in our taking care of our cases. And I think what we've seen here, and I know Chris Pelzer has seen it, that when we're busy with all our criminal work, The day-to-day county civil matters, all those different things, especially if they take blocks of time, we're just pushing back on that. So we can keep up with our criminal stuff, as we move forward here. And we haven't been able to get to the fraud cases that are pending. I know, Health and Human Services is working with, the person they added, the detective they added to handle those. And in addition, the attorneys in our office, we're going to take our time off too. We need that, we need our vacations, we need, the time, with family members and things like that, so, what else?
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Chris, I
we-
know
we
doing
had,
personnel.
Yep,
Yeah.
we had Chuck and his staff come and speak to the Personnel Committee and share these same concerns that he's sharing today, just with the overwhelming amount of work that's taking place, much of it due to the backlog in courts due to COVID. So we talked, when they met with personnel, we talked about the possibility of, maybe these new U.S. Treasury funds that are available would be able to be used for helping with this backlog of cases. And shortly after we met, we did receive new guidance from the Treasury that this is an eligible use of those funds. So I asked Chuck to come here to share those concerns with you. And then I also have a board action prepared that, it isn't part of the packet, but it is prepared. And I can read that. The funds are not here yet, so that provides a little bit of a challenge for us, but we hear that the funds are coming. It's just a matter of the DUNS number getting settled. So I do have a board action that I will read, just in the event that the board does want to take action on this. The board action, actually, Denise, you have it there. It's on the bottom. So the board action is to approve the use of the ARP and the coronavirus state and local fiscal relief funds to hire an assistant county attorney. The background for this, just as Chuck has shared, the county attorney's office has been greatly impacted by the backlog of court cases due to the COVID-19 pandemic. This impact is recognized across the state and the country. U.S. Treasury guidance on use of coronavirus state and local fiscal relief funds allows use of funds to assist in reducing the backlog, specifically hiring additional attorneys to increase speed of case resolution. And the options are to approve the use of the ARP fiscal relief funds to hire assistant county attorney to increase speed of case resolution and reduce the backlog of court cases due to the COVID-19 pandemic, or to not approve, and the recommendation is to approve the use of these funds. I also have the specific guidance that the Treasury has put out, and this was put out as of June 23rd. And this document has been updated again as of July 19th, but it speaks directly to the use of these funds to assist with this backlog. And Denise, if you want to maybe scroll down just a little bit on this. Yep, so it says, steps to reduce these backlogs, such as implementing COVID-19 safety measures to facilitate court operations, hiring additional court staff or attorneys to increase speed of case resolution, and other expenses to expedite case resolution are eligible uses. So even though the funds are not here right at this moment, I would like to request the board to set aside funds to assist the county attorney's office in getting caught up with the backlog. Chuck does have a webinar coming up on July 29th to speak to this.
It is. It's set up by our chief judge here for the 7th District, and it has to deal with the backlog. It states from the beginning, good afternoon, as you are well aware, the past several months have caused a significant backload of cases, most notably in the felony and gross misdemeanor criminal cases. The growing caseload has put a strain on all of our already stretched resources. And so we're gonna have a meeting on the 29th. It's gonna be a Zoom hearing. I'm gonna try to make that. I'm on vacation, but I'll try to get back for that, to address that issue. And what they're hoping to accomplish with implementing some things is to eliminate the major criminal backlog by June 30th of 2023. So that's where they're at with that. Now, some districts may be more impacted than others, but it's affected everybody in the state. The other issue is trying to, if we get some approved funds, we'd like to get, start the hiring process as soon as we can, because it's gonna take some time to do it. It may not even take place towards, maybe towards the end of the year. What I think we're gonna see, and I checked with the neighboring county, and, they plan on, hiring one for next year too, and I can't help but think that across once this budget cycle gets through here for the 2020, 2-year, that you're gonna see a lot of counties, adding assistance, which will maybe hurt us if we're not, don't get the ball rolling sooner than later. Because there may be a lot of competition out here by next year for additional, assistance to help with those backlogs. So it'll be interesting, to see what'll take place here in the next, 6 months to a year. So that's, we have to keep up. It's growing everywhere else, and we're gonna eventually have to add. So it's just the way it is. It's the natural flow of our office. It just seems to, right now, we've got 3 attorneys full-time on criminal. That's just the way it's developed over these last 6 years. It's just, and everything else that comes into our office, it's like, we got a funnel hanging over our head, and everything else comes in, and we're conscientious professionals, and it frustrates us too that we can't get to everything and take the time to do those things.
Okay.
We've had, so several grants that take place. We've had the grant for the welfare fraud. Corrections have had a grant for their pretrial supervision program. Any other grants? These grants are fine, but you got to take into consideration, who are they gonna affect? I mean, you can add grants everywhere. Grants add people, people add work. And a lot of that work comes to us. And we haven't been able to get any grants to help us out either, so. But all those little things, they add up to a lot of things. And we're busy. We're seeing more and more come in.
Okay.
And so I don't know if you guys want to have anything
Make
to say.
comments?
Well, I can just tell you,
Yeah.
I hate it when someone from a department in the county contacts me, whether it's Denise or Doug, or a recording issue, or social services, and we can't give the advice that we need, or the time that we should dedicate to review, a planning and zoning issue, a tax question, something that we should be handling, a contract issue. And I feel like if we had another person in the office, that would free us up to answer those questions, because I feel like it's an important part of the job. And it's one of the reasons I came to the county, to assist with that kind of stuff, because of my background. So really hope that this goes through. Thank you.
Okay.
What is the salary of a starting attorney, or what do you?
So, Madam Chair, Commissioner Kircher, what we have put in the financial implications is somebody starting October 1st roughly, which we know would be pretty quick, and then going through that June 30th of 2023, and that's the $184,000. I think the salary was, the salary range is $68,000 to $86,000, I believe.
And it will depend on the experience that we get.
Mhm.
I am really concerned that our pool is small to draw from. It's like that all over, for attorneys too, for anybody. And the hiring process has been difficult to recruit good people, so it's one of my concerns. So we'd really like to stay ahead of the game. Another complication, and I will tell the board, and I've told other members of the Personnel and Finance Committee, that I am contemplating maybe retiring a little early and not fulfilling my last year of my term, which is next year. It's something that we're discussing with family, and just burnt out, and you kind of know when it's time to go, and so that's a little bit of a snag to this, but I don't want to leave the office without the proper personnel to take in what's coming in and handle those situations, because it's very stressful. Anytime one of us go on vacation, there's some dread, because one goes, now there's 2 of us handling all the criminal.
Madam, oh, sorry.
And it's just, we just don't have anybody, Monday mornings at we have more in custodies than I think we've ever had, and they gotta be dealt with in a timely manner. So additional staff too will help with that too.
Okay. Commissioners, what would you like to do?
Madam Chair, if I may, I'd like to share the frustrations of myself and the board with you, as long as we're being frank with each other. The issues that I have as a board member is lack of a county presence, of a lack of a county attorney present at county board meetings, which I would like to see. And the other thing that I have been always frustrated is lack of prosecution in fraud and planning and zoning issues.
Right.
Yes, we receive grants for this, but also I think there is funding available for your office for some of that. The other thing is, when I read the paper, I see a lot of cases are dismissed, and that's frustrating to me when I see that, wondering why they're dismissed. That makes it frustrating for law enforcement if they aren't, they're doing their jobs and paperwork and then end up dismissing the case. You know my background. I'm an old school, hard-nosed guy, and when somebody commits a crime, I believe they should be prosecuted and prosecuted to the highest extent if possible, because you don't send messages to the public if you don't prosecute. So, the other thing is, I can appreciate you telling us that you're backlogged. I'm a little dumbfounded about the court sending a letter about hiring more attorneys would help us speed up their caseloads. How do they plan on doing that if more attorneys are hired to do more cases? What's their plan?
Yeah, that's what we're gonna try and figure out. And some of those cases are probably, you read about are probably city cases too. There's a lot of, we have city attorneys too.
Yeah.
But that's kind of where we're at. And the whole system, Commissioner Kircher, has changed. It's changed since.
Yeah, I know it has.
And that's the trend. And
If
we
you
have to
told
deal
me
with that
today
too.
you'd prosecute more and you'd take them to the extent of the law, if you'd have somebody present in this boardroom, I might even move to hire 2 attorneys for you. So, I just think it's important.
And that's part of the problem, is we don't have that. Now, I think of it this way. Let's go to all the other departments.
Yep.
Okay? Electeds or department head, and let's eliminate one full-time employee from those departments.
Yep.
And let's have that elected or the department head take that full 40-hour-a-week job.
Yeah.
Do you think they're gonna be in meetings?
Oh, yeah, no. I agree with you, but I'm just saying, I would love to have one attorney present. Doesn't need to be you, just an attorney here giving us some advice. But I know you're busy and backlogged, but I'm just telling you what the board feels and how we've discussed things. I know last year you put in for an attorney and it got cut. I'm more than willing to give you an attorney. If I could see a little more out of your office, then I would appreciate it more, especially in fraud and planning and zoning. I mean, fraud is my pet peeve. If people are committing fraud, we need to prosecute them,
And
so,
we used to do that.
yeah,
But that's a whole new case.
yeah, I know.
They're complicated, they take a lot of time. Planning and zoning issues, even though those are misdemeanors, it's like DNR violations, they're very personal, and they take a lot of time and they clog things up. And we gotta concentrate on some of the,
Yeah.
other serious felonies.
The other issue I have, Madam Chair, is when you tell me the salary, how would you attract a good attorney at $68,000?
You won't.
No.
So,
Madam Chair, Commissioner Kircher, we did just see an article in the paper that Commissioner Newman provided. The starting salary for Douglas County was at $73,000, and the ending salary range was $78,000. Our range is $68,000 to $86,000.
yeah, but the range is a little higher, but starting is lower.
Starting is a little low, and when we factored that into this board action, we did not start this position
Okay,
at a step 1.
And that's gonna vary depending on experience. Yeah, Douglas is replacing, and it sounds like they're gonna be adding another one next year, which should bring them to 7 attorneys.
how are you situated for office space?
That's another issue. You know, we're gonna grow. I don't, if it's not this year, next year, we're gonna grow. I don't see crime declining here. As long as the drugs keep coming in, we're gonna grow.
Well, crime will keep increasing if we don't prosecute, so it's just gotta do that. So
Yeah,
I'm
and so,
sorry.
but we do have some space in the back. We took a look at that, and we probably need 3 walls, 2 walls maybe we looked at. And add you might as well put two spaces in. They'll be small, but you might as well plan for the future. And that would take a little bit of money too. I don't know if we're gonna use a little bit of the COVID and a little bit of our forfeiture funds, but I think we can make that work.
Well, and I'm gonna share my frustration with the court system also. The catch and release and no bail is frustrating to me and law enforcement. This no bail situation, that needs to change. These guys are out there catching and releasing, and it's just costing the taxpayers money to do this. So I'm frustrated about that too. I think that needs to change. There's a lot of things, they can thank God that I'm not a judge, because there'd be a lot of issues going on, so, and straightened out. But anyway, I just feel that it's a mess.
It's
So,
changed.
well, it's changed, it's absolutely, but not to the better, I don't think, so.
You know, during our personnel meeting, and the assistant attorneys were able to visit with us too during that time, and it was brought up to us, as we add to Health and Human Services, as we add to the sheriff's office, we have more people out there, more work coming in, and less of you to prosecute it. So, commissioners, any other questions at this time, or what would you like to do?
The way I'm reading this board action, the way it's written, is that this would be based off the fact that we get the funding for.
COVID money,
So
yes.
I would be in full support of it based on that fact that the funding, when it arrives or whatever, would be utilized for that at that point. So if you're looking for a motion, I would make a motion to approve the
Okay.
board action as listed.
We have a motion from Commissioner Erickson for the approval of to hire a assistant county attorney using ARP funding. Is there a second?
I would like to do a friendly amendment if I may. And during the budget time talks, if Chuck's plan is to retire, if we were to add one, would leave a blank position in the office. During the budget talks, have you talked about adding another attorney just with the levy process? Has that
Budgeted
been
in.
discussed?
It's budgeted in.
It's budgeted?
Yes, he
So
presented
this
his
would
budget
be,
line item.
would this be a second attorney to the office then? With this funding?
I wasn't in personnel, so I don't know what they discussed.
This
I just
funding
know-
would be in assistance in the backlog of the court cases due to the pandemic. That's what this specific funding is for.
But in the budget, you're levying for another attorney. This is separate funding, so.
It is separate funding, and we were having Chuck come back to another finance committee meeting
For further discussion.
for further discussion on that additional county attorney.
Okay. I would like to add a friendly amendment that we have this as an additional attorney to the levy budget attorney. To be 2 attorneys.
I'm gonna struggle with that because we haven't met on it yet
Okay.
as the finance committee. So until we get a
Okay.
chance to come back
So
and
we're just
speak
gonna
with him.
approve this one and then we'll
This one-
discuss the other one later.
still have to
Okay,
go
I'll
through it
withdraw
as
my,
well.
okay, I'll withdraw.
Through
mine.
the budget
All right,
process.
I'll second the motion then.
Okay. Seconded by Kircher. Discussion? So we are just contemplating this one.
Correct,
The other one will come through the budget process as it comes forward.
yes.
And we may have to offset, we'll
Okay.
discuss it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries. And thank you. Thank you for the work you guys do.
Thank you for your time.
Yep. And I think we have the Initiative Foundation. Welcome.
Thank you. Morning, Madam Chair, morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
My name is Carl Newbanks with the Initiative Foundation, and happy to be here today and have the opportunity just to provide an update as to our work and impacts here in Todd County. And you have in your packet, I think, what we call our county fact sheet. And so you've got some kind of statistics there that are, sometimes I joke and say, since the beginning of time. It goes all the way back to 1986. which makes me think of my freshman year in high school, so put that in context. But again, we're always concerned to make sure that we are putting back into the counties more than we're taking out. It's a big metric for us. And so since 1986, of course, we've been able to return back to Todd County $2.53 for every dollar that we have collected out of Todd County in support of the foundation. And we're happy to continue that mission and continue that economic impact. And down at the bottom, you can see the total, almost $2 million in grants, $87,000 in scholarships, $1.7 million in loans, and securing 885 quality jobs. Those would be jobs created or retained, mostly due to lending projects that we fund in the county. And then right now, of course, we host 9 partner funds that serve Todd County, and those folks make their own grants, recommend their own grants to the foundation, and then we make those grants back into the county. And on the back of the sheet there, you can see some of the more recent grants, a few business financing projects, the list of partner funds. One of the other items that we're really proud of is we continue to prioritize assisting nonprofits, and we work hard. Our nonprofit, it's been rebranded to be called Nonprofit Academy, but it's basically building capacity for nonprofits, really emphasizing in the last couple of years governance of nonprofits and fundraising capacity for nonprofits. So providing a fundraising school for nonprofits to go through, and some other training for governance, et cetera. Also, they work hard to provide what they call leadership circles and lunch and learns for nonprofit leaders to get together and share resources and ideas and frustrations, kind of learn from each other. It's been a really valuable program, and we continue to provide that across the region as well. At the bottom section there, community action, are actually just a few highlights that are pulled out of our IQ magazine. I don't know if I would assume everybody receives IQ, but if you don't, I did bring some of our most recent versions that cover a lot of our pandemic work here in IQ magazine. So, and then following in your packet is, of course, a list of recent projects from 2017 through 2019. These are grants the foundation's made, grants that a lot of the partner funds have made, and kind of a brief description of what those have been about, and of course the amounts, et cetera. And we continue to support what we call our partner funds. We continue to support them with a lot of training and assistance to boards. We want those partner funds to have strong boards, strong governance, good policies, et cetera. We support them when they recommend grants. We make sure that the people they're making grants to are legal, recipients of grants, et cetera. Keep everybody in line, keep everybody tight with the IRS, and we want those partner funds to really be successful and to grow and do good in the region and not get into any trouble at the same time. So that's kind of the support that we give to those folks as well. Not included in your packet, I brought with me some more recent numbers related just to 2020 in Todd County. I'd be happy to provide those. In 2020, and again, we had a significant uptick in activity in 2020. A lot of our partner funds spooled up emergency relief funds and did some emergency relief fundraising. We did a lot of emergency relief and recovery work. Normally in a year, the foundation might do a total of $2 to $2.5 million in granting in the region. And in 2020, we approached $11 million in granting. Just because we were kind of tapped by deed to do some emergency business relief grants, and I can talk about those, and we were tapped by deed to do emergency business relief lending. The emergency business relief grants were a great project for us. We found out that we were facilitating those for deed when they made the public announcement. So we had no warning, and all of a sudden had to provide about 820 grants across our 14 counties, a little over $8 million in grants. So we had to spool up. In fact, at one time we had 24 of our 26 staff working just on that emergency business relief project that DEED had asked us to facilitate across the region. And I would say it is consistent support from our counties and cities that kind of put us in a financial position when DEED comes to us and says, are you willing to take on this project? Do you have capacity? We were able to say, yeah, we'll make that happen. We'll take that on, we'll facilitate those grants to the businesses, access the applications, get everybody approved, get everybody through, and kind of facilitate that for deeds. Same thing with the emergency business loans, and I can talk about some of those, but those numbers are included in these totals that I'm gonna give you, so you'll hear this big uptick. It's a little kind of an anomaly, so to say, of a year, as we all know, but 63 grants in Todd County for $242,000 in 2020. There was one emergency business relief loan for $35,000. And then over here, there was no leverage, of course. These were emergency business relief loans from deed. Of the emergency business relief grants and loans that we were able to do in Todd County, we actually impacted 157 jobs, which was great for us. And again, we'll often ask folks, we give you this emergency business relief grant, is it retaining jobs? Is it creating jobs? And they just kind of feedback those numbers to us, and then that's what we have here, 157 jobs created. And you had $2,800 in scholarships paid out through a couple of the partner funds that are scholarship funds in 2020. And again, I think what you're looking at in your packet only covered up to 2019. So I didn't have an updated list of all of, in that format for 2020 as well. Of the grants, the emergency business relief grants, 13 of those were applied in Todd County. So that's $130,000 in emergency business relief grants through the deed program that I mentioned that we facilitated. One emergency business relief loan. We continue to work hard on access to affordable childcare. We feel like it's a significant barrier in a lot of communities to workforce retention, recruiting a quality workforce. It's a complicated issue for us. And again, we don't believe that the Initiative Foundation has all the solutions in Little Falls, and we're going to come up with a program and tell everybody what to do. We want to get involved at a local level and say, what is your solution? How can we help with that? Can we provide funding or partnerships or networks? How can we help with the local solutions? And we have had some discussions with Long Prairie Packing over here and some of their ideas to solve childcare shortages that they're experiencing and how that relates to their workforce. But we continue to emphasize this. We continue to work with communities. We do have some grant programs where we go and meet with communities, find out what the solution is. We've had some success securing implementation grants so they can actually act on the solution that they've kind of developed. It doesn't move as fast as we'd like to, but I think that's because we really are committed to the local solution. And so we want to give folks time to sort that out. What is the right step forward? Is it a center? Is it home-based care? How can we support it? What is the right solution? And how can we provide affordable access to affordable quality childcare? We do have signals from DEED that they're going to continue to provide significant funding for us to take that approach. And so we're going to continue that work, we expect, for at least the next 3 years and hopefully more. And we have signaled to DEED in the past and to the state that what we really need is funding to provide capital to some of our childcare providers. If you could have a little more space, you could have more slots. If there's a center that could find money to expand, then they could open up more slots and serve more children. We're not sure if they're going to do that, but they are signaling and have a program coming in the fall that we believe is going to contain some capital funding that will be able to help childcare providers either access it. We're not sure if they're going to want us to facilitate that program, but we're definitely going to be involved in helping people gain access to it and getting those funds. And if it requires matching funds, we'd like to play a role in that as well if we can. So that's a significant initiative for us across the region. And again, we also, I mentioned nonprofit development, and we continue to support emerging and low-income minority entrepreneurs across the region as well with training, programming, and access to some lending dollars that we've secured through Wells Fargo and U.S. Bank and the CDFI fund to just continue to support folks trying to start businesses out in rural Minnesota as well. So excited to continue to support those initiatives as well. Don Hickman asked me also to share, we are continuing to support our partnership with the Latino Economic Development Corporation. We are specifically working with Long Prairie Packing and the Long Prairie Chamber to find a solution here in this community. Long Prairie was one of our pilot communities for the program I mentioned earlier, where we explore the local solutions and try and find implementation money. And then again, we had Hands of Hope Resource Center, which I think serves Little Falls and Morrison, Todd counties, was a significant participant in one of our nonprofit development programs and really had some fundraising success as well, so we were happy to serve them. I can go on with a few other nonprofit statistics, but I don't know that we need to worry so much about the number of nonprofits and the leaders that we served across the region. We're just happy to continue doing the work that we do. I would entertain any questions if anybody has any.
There's questions? Comments?
I'd just like to say thank you. I think our investment with you is well worth it. Payback is what we want back into the county, and it looks like we're getting a good payback, and I appreciate what you guys do over there for a foundation. I think we're going to talk about our contribution, aren't we?
Yeah, that's up on the next one.
So I
Any
do
other
appreciate it, and I think the board does too, so thank you.
Well, thank you. And again, we always appreciate any information, concerns, questions that you can pass on to us. One of our biggest challenges is just hearing, the needs or emerging needs, or we think this is coming down the road. You guys should be aware of it. We'd love to hear that. And again, we appreciate your support. And as I mentioned earlier, the pandemic is really highlighted for us how important it is to have that consistent support. We were well positioned to be able to just say, we're going to provide emergency relief and recovery, and some of that's even continuing now, but it is that consistent support that positioned us for that. So
Okay.
we appreciate your consideration, your support, and thanks for giving me a little time. You guys have a good day.
Thank you.
So, Madam Chair, with that, I do have a board action for Initiative Foundation annual contribution. The background is the Todd County Board of Commissioners have budgeted for an annual contribution to the Initiative Foundation in past budget years. The Initiative Foundation is requesting confirmation on whether the contribution will be continued for the 2022 budget year, matching the 2021 allocation amount of $7,500. The option is to approve the annual contribution of $7,500 for Initiative Foundation for 2022 budget year, or to not approve, and the recommendation is to approve that. The financial implications are $7,500, and that comes from the general government funding source.
I'll ask for a motion for the $7,500 for Initiative Foundation 2022 budget year.
Madam Chair, I would move to increase the amount to $8,000. I firmly believe, and I've said this all along in our budget process, that our payback from the Initiative Foundation is a great thing, and it almost doubles, if not triples, the money we're investing. And I think we should be levying a little more each year to give to the Initiative Foundation. I can't imagine the number of people that or agencies that are knocking on their door asking for money that they don't have to give to them. So I would propose that we go to $8,000 for this year, and I would ask that would be put on the scale of increasing each year with our budget as we budget our process, do our process. Thank you.
I have a motion from Commissioner Kircher to raise it for this year, and we'll just go this year's
Yes.
on this motion for the 2022 budget to $8,000. Is there a second for that motion?
I'll second it.
Second by Erickson. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And it's carried. And thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Good morning.
I wanted to say hi to him because I'd not met him. We're one of their success stories. We appreciate very much the help that the Initiative Foundation gave us, both as we were preparing to become the Hilltop Regional Kitchen, but also after the three board members attended that training session for leaders. It was invaluable. It was a wonderful training. So I just wanted to shake his hand because I know they like to hear when there's success stories, and I believe we are one of those. I'd like to bring you an update on behalf of the Hilltop Regional Kitchen. I was last here 2 years ago. Again, I'm the president of the Hilltop Kitchen and Brickhouse. We don't need to go back to the beginning of how this all came about, because you all know that story. So I'm going to pick up the story with when we began planning for the new kitchen, just real briefly, because at that time we were doing about 50,000 meals. And we knew that the baby boomers were just starting to retire. We knew that our old, very worn out kitchen, just like the ones in other towns, were failing. Ours was probably going to be failing relatively soon. So the group that we got together, we thought we were thinking really big, and shot for a kitchen that could do 100,000 meals. It's a good thing we did. To become the type of asset that we were envisioning that we could be into the future, we knew that we had to be able to respond to the requests of the people, not just in any particular community or even just in Todd County, but to those who would be potentially in need throughout our central Minnesota area. Once we had the kitchen up and running, and again, that was 2017, once we had it up and running, we began to work on some of those programs that prior to that time, we were just doing Meals on Wheels, the hot meals, and some frozen that we call bundled meals. But then we could start looking at other things, and so we looked at a program that you have heard about, where we were working with the 3 hospitals. We're sending frozen foods with people who are being discharged with challenges to their nutrition. We started working with a couple of Head Start programs. We still currently work with one Head Start program here in Long Prairie. We work with a daycare preschool setting here in Long Prairie. We added a program called Meals to Go, which allowed us to send frozen meals via Speedy to seniors all across the state of Minnesota that were unable to be close enough to a kitchen to be able to access a hot meal. By that time, we were up to about 60,000 meals, and we envisioned that we're going to continue to grow. So next we expanded into a program that LSS had been looking at for quite a while, which would be to open it up for other people, for pay situations, which was something that they had wanted to do, did not have a kitchen for doing that. So now if you go onto the hilltopregionalkitchen.org, you can actually see a menu that people can order. Don't have to be seniors. Literally anyone can order. They just expanded with a summer menu, reacting to the needs or wants of the people who are ordering. Now we're up to about 70,000 meals. So then the pandemic hits. And this next screen, the one that's up there right now, our congregate shut down. We didn't even know if our kitchen was going to be able to stay open. And we were quickly assured that because of the need, we were going to be able to stay open. And then the funding began for programming. LSS, our Lutheran Social Services, our partner throughout all of this, it was approached to producing more meals, a lot more meals. And we began to produce like we'd never imagined. If you look up there, what it says is we added a second shift. Prior to that, we had been doing one shift, but we added a second shift. We hired more staff, all of whom were temporary and now are no longer employed. We renovated a unused area of his own classroom that was right next to the kitchen. Once again, we were very, very fortunate because some of the COVID relief money that was out there for the cities, townships, counties, and so forth was able to be used for something that I'll show you pictures in just a moment, but that I think what will stabilize us even better into the future. The crown jewel of that is a brand new 10 by 16 walk-in freezer. Again, you'll see pictures in just a moment. But during that time period, we watched our numbers skyrocket. We were able to provide not only for the people of Todd County, but also for many of our neighbors. As you can see up there, that included 21,000 meals to tribal nations. One thing that's not up there, many of you probably heard about some of the meal drop-offs, the free giveaways that were produced through the Minnesota Department of Education grant funding. We did 18,600 and some meals through that program. And we collaborated with Lakewood, as you can see up there, providing frozen meals for people who had been diagnosed with COVID or who were at least in a setting where their family was in quarantine. These are things we could never have planned for, but because our kitchen was up and running and was capable of handling that, we were able to say yes to each and every one of those requests. Next screen, please. So here's what we saw. Basically the story that I just got done telling you. When I came into the story, which was in 2012, we were doing just a little over, well, about 25 to 30,000 meals. As you go upwards, you get up towards 2017, that's when we realized that the new kitchen was going to be a necessity, did the funding, got it built. And then you see 2019, and you can see that arrow going up. Well, that shows that we're at a little over 100,000, but those Minnesota Department of Education meals had not been added into this. So the actual total for 2020, 122,531 meals that left our doors. And a number that just astounds me even now. I actually get tired just thinking about what all of the staff and everybody went through during that very elongated period when the COVID was really pushing us to our limits. But the great thing about this, the experience proved that with the collective will of the Hilltop Regional Kitchen, Lutheran Social Services, and all of the other groups pitched in to help during this time period, we were able to accept and complete each request that was asked of our program. It was both exhausting and gratifying. And I guarantee you that our old kitchen would never have withstood this test. I'd like to show you a couple of pictures. This is the old classroom that we renovated through COVID finances plus some grant money that LSIS was able to secure. And behind the scene there, you're going to see one more picture of it later, but that's the production area. This is some of the new storage area that we were very, very short on. One thing I didn't mention was during the COVID, when all of this was being renovated, we actually had a refrigeration truck sitting in our parking lot because there was no way that we could store. Our dining room became a production room. There was no congregate dining. So that became a production area, and the whole, no tables and chairs, just all production. The people who came in and worked, many of whom were volunteers that came in from varieties of places to fulfill volunteer hours, and it took all of them and then some to make all of this happen. The last final picture, as you can see, that's the crown jewel. That's the 10 by 16, the new walk-in freezer, and that who would have guessed when we were building this, when the majority of our meals were hot, that in the future the majority of our meals were going to be frozen. But that's where our big numbers have begun to show itself. Our hot meals have maintained itself. The numbers have not changed very much, but the frozen, it just took off like a rocket. I'm happy to say that things are returning to something that looks more like normal. We had our first on-site congregate meal last Thursday night. 40 people showed up, community members. We even had 2 representatives from LSS who came in to help us celebrate, and it was so much fun to get back together again on site and congregate and have our dining room back to being a dining room. But I just want to tell you that we had a meeting a few days ago in which we got the data for the month of June, and we were down. I'm going to repeat that. We were down to 6,986 meals during that month. So if you do the math, you can see that means we're going to be doing well over 80,000 meals in the year 2021. So maybe that 100,000 meal idea wasn't so crazy after all. We continue to see more ways that the Hilltop Regional Kitchen can become an even greater asset for the people of our area. We've been approached by some churches and other groups that would like some help preparing some food. We know we're not going to get into not catering. But there are things that we can do. We know a lot of churches, for example, are finding that as their population is aging, it would really be nice for them, like for funerals and things. And our LSS is working on that type of an idea where people could order things like that. Don't know where that's going to go, but it's an idea that we are at least going to look at. In closing, I hope you agree that the Hilltop Regional Kitchen has truly become a major asset for the people of Todd County, and now we've proven that we can actually help people well beyond Todd County. With the help of all the 10 cities and from the help of Todd County, we've helped stabilize our budget. We are actually doing quite well right now. We hope that we will not need to weather any more storms that even remotely look like something like a pandemic. But we are proud of the work that the LSS, Hilltop Regional Kitchen, and et al. Of the people who would have worked to help them make this come true during the crisis. It proved that we are ready to serve. We will go wherever that pathway leads us in the future, and hope that we can continue to serve the people of our central Minnesota region well into the future. So thank you, and at this point I'd accept any questions that you might have for me.
Jackie?
Rick, can I be the first, and I'm sure of the five of you, to thank you for your endless work in the last year, as well as everybody who is out at the Hilltop Kitchen, from the staff, to the servers, to the commuters, all the volunteers. Your endless work has not gone unnoticed. We are in a food desert in our community, and you're helping us hopefully get out of that. But thank you for your endless work.
Thank you.
Commissioners?
Here, Rick, I want to thank you for, he's a volunteer, and I don't know, hours he put in this thing, it's amazing. And
Labor of love. Keep selling it. It's a
I
labor
know,
of love.
it's what you love to do, so that's great. And I just want to thank you for their
Absolutely.
And I want to thank Catherine for all the work she's done. Of course, this last year, she's been working on the COVID stuff, so.
A little busy.
We also, during the year, had a changeover in the third board member. Our previous board member was Carol Aspgren, who is a former resident of Eagle Bend, but she moved away for several years and then came back and now lives in Wadena. Great member for our board. But we recently, because of some health issues and her family had to submit a resignation, and we just at the last meeting voted for a new board member that I think many of you will go, okay, Kelly Christensen. And she's just going to be a tremendous board member for us.
I have to make a comment, and just being that we're coming out of COVID, and I, as a restaurant owner, have seen a tremendous downturn on the food industry, and I'm sure most of the area restaurants have also seen that downturn. And we would love to have the people feel comfortable coming back into the public restaurants, being able to serve at funerals, being able to use our restaurants as a food service within Todd County. And I hate to see that opportunity taken away from the private sector. And so with that, I think we have to work hand in hand, that there are many restaurants and food industries that are private that also need to see the public return back to their places also.
Understood. And again, our job, our task is not to replace restaurants, catering services. In fact, one of the things the Initiative Foundation helped us understand was stay in your mission. That is not our mission.
You know, I think that there's a need for that private sector to be out there
Absolutely.
also.
And I know during the pandemic, actually, there were times when we turned to the private sector to help. LSS actually hired one of our local caterers who was not able to do that to help us during that time period. So I think that there's room for us to work together.
No, because there's that time that we were first shut down, that we were given no notice. All of our food,
Absolutely.
we had to throw away. I mean, the public or the private sector of the restaurant industry has been through a lot also, so. With that said, I'll leave it as there.
So, Madam Chair,
Yes.
with Central Minnesota Council on Aging, they started a program down in Stearns County in St. Cloud where they were providing frozen meals at the food shelf. And they actually ran out of room because the demand was so great. Are you guys supplying the food shelves within Todd County with frozen meals?
I believe that's Catholic Charities.
Catholic Charities filled that need, I believe. So that wasn't us, not Hilltop.
That's not you.
Right. So I'm not sure exactly how that decision-making took place, but I believe we were informed that Catholic Charities was going to be providing those meals.
Well, I know they were in St. Cloud, but I was just asking
believe-
if
Right.
Hilltop was supplying Todd County the Long Prairie food shelf with any
That was all through
frozen-
Catholic Charities, yep.
It
That
is.
set up those distribution sites that they were doing. Mm-hmm.
Got it.
Right, we were doing a lot, I think, at that point, and it maybe was just an ask to a different region
Yeah.
or a
and
different
I
group.
think LSS was actually surprised that we were not, that the request didn't come to us rather than to Catholic Charities, but that's politics that I don't know anything
I'll
about.
do more research on that. so.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay. Then I think if there are no other comments, our next agenda item would be the Hilltop Regional 2022 donation. And if I could have a motion for the approval of the 2022 for the budget year is $6,400.
Madam Chair, I'm going to get on my bandwagon again. I think that this organization has shown its quality and the numbers that they serve, and I believe this board should be supportive of this organization and Kitchen, and I would move that we budget $7,000 for them for 2022.
Madam Chair, if I could just add to that, the funding comes from the Health and Human Services budget. Okay.
So it would have to go through Jackie's budget, which would be an increase to their budget line.
We can support that.
Okay, there was a motion to up it to 7,000, and that comes through the Health and Human Services budget. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Kneisel. Did I say Kircher made the motion? Excuse me. Any further discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Adam.
Good morning. First item I have here this morning is the Tim and Karen Melby request for a CUP. A request for conditional use permit to establish a Foresight Campground as a commercial PUD on parcel 0600023702 in Burnhamville Township was received on May 3rd. This was reviewed by the Planning Commission during the July 1st meeting. The recommendation from the Planning Commission is to grant the CUP with the following conditions. 1, that the applicant must abide by all other applicable federal, state, and local standards. 2, the site is restricted to 4 campsites. Additional campsites will require the review of the Planning Commission. 3, installation of a septic system size to handle all 4 campsites plus additional structures on the site. 4, maintain vegetative screening on all sides adjacent to public roads. 5, recording of protective covenants, ensuring the long-term preservation and maintenance of open space in accordance with the criteria and analysis specified in section 7.18H of the ordinance. And 6, that the site is located in an agricultural area, and consequently there will be from time to time noise, sounds, and smells associated with the operation of farming. No property owner shall bring action of law against any farming operation because of such farming activities, as long as such farming activities complies with state, federal, EPA, and Todd County ordinances. So the option would be a motion to grant the CUP with those proposed conditions, deny the CUP, or remand back to the Planning Commission for further consideration, and to request an extension. Recommendation at this time would be a motion to grant the CUP with those proposed conditions. Just one additional note is this is the one that was back, I think it might have been 2 meetings ago, where we had it as a residential PUD and just had to circle it back around and identify it as a commercial We did add, because it's commercial now, we did add that condition number 5 of the open space preservation, which is a requirement of the ordinance. And our applicants are working on that right now. So that's the only major change from what you saw last meeting.
Okay, is there a motion for approval or for the Tim and Karen Melby request for a CUP?
Could have discussion first.
Absolutely.
How many acres is this?
Like 12 and, a little over 12, I believe.
It's right next to an agriculture, there's cropland right next.
Yeah, so where the campsites are, kind of, it's about as far away from the lake as they could be and still be on their property.
Right.
And then just a little further to the west, Hollerman Dairy, I think,
Yeah,
owns that field
yeah.
behind there.
Yeah.
Madam Chair, I got a question. So if it's, commercial, would that mean they would have to go in and plat their little campsite areas into, and then purchase them?
No, the commercial allows them to operate as such. They can do weekend sites. It's a commercial, just like a regular campground. The difference is that they intend to use it for family only. But if they were to sell this property, future owners would be able to operate that as a Foresight campground at that time. But the difference is the residential, that's where it requires it to be blocked off into like individual ownership of those sites.
Right.
The commercial allows them to retain ownership of the entire property.
Any further
So you said
questions?
just family's gonna use this?
Yeah, but the only way to make this work, because it's in shoreline zoning,
Yeah,
it's much more restrictive.
gotta be right on the edge.
It is. It's shoreline zoning extends 1,000 feet from the lake.
Right.
The sites are about 850 feet from the lake. So they're really close to the backside of it, but there wasn't, if they wanted to move outside of that shoreline zoning area, they only had a small place area that was, I forget what other zoning district it was, but it drops down and it's not sufficient for campsites. So this is really about their best option.
So Madam Chair, this would be then zoned similar to a resort.
Somewhat similar, yes. It just, it's a campground, but our ordinance requires it to be, because it's in shoreline, it has to be processed as some sort of PUD.
So it's similar to a resort.
Yep.
Yep. Okay.
Any further discussion? If not, I ask for a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Erickson. Is there a second? Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Kircher. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries.
Okay, the next one is Randy Jonas' request for a CUP. A request for conditional use permit was received on May 20th to establish a residential dog kennel on parcel 1400-17202 in Kendota Township. Request was reviewed by the Planning Commission during the July 1st meeting. The final recommendation of the Planning Commission was to grant the CUP with the following conditions. Placement of vegetative screening to provide screening from the lake, neighboring properties, and public roadway. Signage must abide by the requirements of Todd County Ordinance. 3, all waste generated from the kennel area must be disposed of in a manner that does not create a pollution hazard. 4, site shall be restricted to no more than 10 adult dogs. Additional dogs will require the view of the Planning Commission. 5, there should be no breeding on the site. And 6, the applicant must abide by all other applicable federal, state, and local standards. I won't run through the options here. We got a phone call yesterday from Mr. Jonas and a follow-up email. They requested to formally withdraw their application from consideration. So we actually don't need to make any sort of decision today. I have the notice here. It says, good afternoon. This email is our formal withdrawal of our dog boarding business. With careful consideration, we've decided that this is not a good fit for us for now or in the future. Thank you kindly, Randy Jonas and Lisa. So no decision needs to be made. They have formally withdrawn their application. So I think we can move on from there. We'll keep that as part of the file going forward. And the last item here is for Daniel Hirschberger, request for CUP. A request for a conditional use permit was received on May 27th, 2021 to establish a retail greenhouse on parcel 0100161100 in Bartlett Township. This request was reviewed by the Planning Commission during the July 1st meeting. The final recommendation from the Planning Commission was to grant the CUP with the following conditions. 1, the greenhouse operator must provide adequate off-street parking for all greenhouse traffic. No parking will be allowed within the road right-of-way. 2, no loading or unloading materials will be allowed within the road right-of-way. 3, business is restricted to construction of a single greenhouse. Construction of additional greenhouses will require the review of the Planning Commission. And 4, business signage must abide by the Todd County Planning and Zoning Ordinance and must not be placed within the road right-of-way. So the options be a motion to grant the CUP with those proposed conditions, a motion to deny the CUP, or 3, remand back to the Planning Commission for further consideration. And if 3 was an option, we need to have a motion to extend the application. But the recommendation at this time would be a motion to grant the conditional use permit with those proposed conditions.
Is there a motion for the Daniel, how do you pronounce his last name?
Hirschberger.
Hirschberger request for a CUP?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Erickson. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Knizel. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries. Thank
All
you.
right, thank you.
Chris?
Madam Chair and Commissioners, I have a board action this morning with a resolution of proclamation. The background on this is on June 16th of 2021, Governor Walz issued a proclamation of July 27th, 2021 as County Staff Appreciation Day. In recognition of this, the Todd County Board of Commissioners wishes to recognize the staff of Todd County with the attached resolution and proclamation. And if I may just read this proclamation. Whereas county staff serve as the cornerstone of this community, dedicating their time, skills, and expertise for the benefit of their neighbors. And whereas Todd County staff went beyond expectations to continue delivering the necessary services to the citizens of Todd County during the COVID-19 pandemic. And whereas in addition to their regular duties, many county staff were called upon and accepted new and challenging responsibilities during the pandemic. And whereas Todd County staff continue their exemplary work as we turn the corner on the COVID-19 pandemic and continue with recovery efforts. And whereas the work of Todd County staff over the past year and a half have kept our community safer, healthier, and productive throughout the months of unprecedented global transition. And whereas on June 16th of 2021, Governor Walz proclaimed July 27th, 2021 as County Staff Appreciation Day in recognition of the great efforts set forth as described above. Now therefore be it resolved that we, the Todd County Board of Commissioners, proclaim July 27th, 2021 as County Staff Appreciation Day and extend our thanks to the staff of Todd County, expressing deep gratitude for their commitment to excellence in public service during the COVID-19 pandemic.
And as board chair, I would like to take this opportunity to thank all the staff that we have in Todd County and all the departments and how much we appreciate what they do for us. So thank you to our staff. Other commissioners?
Ditto.
Okay. So
And
thank you.
And the recommendation is to adopt the attached resolution of proclamation for July 27th, 2021 as County Staff Appreciation Day.
So is there a motion for the adoption for July 27th to be appreciation of the staff for the county?
So moved, but I'd like to add, is there anything we're gonna do that day?
So for that day, I mean, we will recognize staff within each department. Each department head will find ways to recognize, but we kind of were a little bit ahead of this with the governor. We do have an appreciation
Right.
picnic plan for staff, and that will be on August 4th.
Okay.
Okay, is there a motion for approval?
I'll move.
Motion.
I would also like to have, this proclamation posted in every office, plus I'd like to have one laid on everybody's desk, so they know we do appreciate their work.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Kircher recognized. Yep.
Kircher made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Knizel. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries.
Thank you.
Then we will go on to standing reports before we go into closed session.
I have nothing, Madam Chair, under the Auditor Treasurer report.
Okay. Commissioners?
Tomorrow, we moved our perm meeting up to tomorrow instead of the week after because we actually got insurance, so we have to get it done before August 1st, so we moved our.
Who did you get the insurance from, Gary?
I don't remember the name of the company.
Okay, but it wasn't through,
No,
the
it
new-
wasn't MCI.
They wouldn't-
okay,
Right.
yeah. Okay, very good.
And it's cheaper than what, you know. It's still expensive, but it's cheaper
Yeah.
than.
Any other commissioners?
Well, Madam Chair, we're just slowly, I think the rest of the commissioners are in the same boat. We're slowly phasing out of these Zoom meetings and going back to our regular meetings. I still have a few Zooms, but I think it's getting back to normal. But the way it sounds, we might not get back to normal if something else happens here, I guess. I don't know. But kind of nice to get back to having our regular meetings with our committees, so.
Coordinator?
Madam Chair, I just wanted to comment on the county fair. It sounds like that was pretty successful, and I wanted to just take a moment to thank our facilities staff. They really worked hard all week to assist with the Ag Society and getting things taken care of out there. So I want to make a thank you to the facilities staff and also to the Ag Society for all the work that they've done throughout the fair.
Very good. With that, we will be entering into our closed session. Let's see, the commissioners will hold a closed session under the attorney-client privilege pursuant to Minnesota statute 13D.05. 3B, to discuss the following pending litigation: Erickson versus Pope County, file number 19 CV 3061.
Madam Chair, that's also Todd County as well. When they sent
Yes.
this board action, they did make note that they just sent the one over, and the first county is Pope, but Todd County is listed as well.
Okay, thank you for the correction. With that, we'll go into closed session, what, about 5 minutes, I suppose?
Madam Chair, we did receive notice, Denise and I both received notice that they will be here at 10:42.
Oh, okay, we will go into closed session at 10:42.
That's right now. till
Okay.
that time.
We'll be at recess then until closed session. Okay, we will now be reopening our regular session of our board meeting. The time is 11:38. With our closed session was on pending litigation. With that, I'll ask for a motion to close our meeting, and with the next meeting being August 4th. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Newman, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Kircher. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Must not want to adjourn.
I'll let you go ahead.
Okay, the first item here that I have for work session is the Todd County and Todd Soil and Water Conservation District Working Agreement. This hasn't been reviewed in many, many years, so during a recent soil and water meeting, it was discussed that we should review this annually. The agreement you have in front of you is what we're proposing for the working agreement. It's edited to clarify some stuff and update, because we have a coordinator, the administrator position doesn't exist anymore, so there's a lot of changes like that. I sent this out, I think, last week, Wednesday, for you guys to look over prior to the meeting. Part of the process here is to have you guys look it over, review it, provide input. We'll make adjustments, and if we need to go back to the liaison, we will, but also prior to adoption, we'll have the county attorney review it and provide input also. There's not really any major changes to the working agreement, but it has been hashed over by the Soil and Water Board liaison. It was at the liaison with Rod and Barb last week when we went through it again. Just wanted to make sure that the rest of you guys had an opportunity to provide comments also, and we can incorporate those, but just open it up for discussion, I guess, at this time, unless you want me to go through the specific changes that were incorporated.
Okay. Do you have any paper copies of this? Or can we get papers? I think
I have
you,
this copy here.
okay.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes it's easier to read them when you actually have a paper copy.
Okay.
So if we could just get copies for the board members before we leave. Yeah.
Sure. And yeah, so most of it was just clarification stuff. With additional staff coming on, there's been some questions around what the county or what the Soil and Water is paying for staff, so we clarified some of that. And then, yeah, there's just updated information and also changes to provide more consistency to the language throughout the document. That was really the only updates. The process from here would be to have if you guys are okay with what you have in front of you, we would forward this on to Chuck to get his review and then bring it back around for formal adoption too once we have that completed. And if you have no comments here today, you can email them to me or call me or something too.
Yeah, I'd like to read through them a little more and see
Sure.
what.
Next step would be Chuck then?
Yep. And we can incorporate, I can still make changes to this, but we'll probably have to circle it back to liaison too, so the Soil and Water Board
Right.
is informed also, but only then when, we kind of have the documents that we'll get it to Chuck for his review also. So we can get you paper copies and then I suppose bring it back.
Just
Another
off
work
the
session,
top
right?
of my head, I think there was one part of it that talked about budgeting and how you bring your budget forwards.
Yep, I
And you
think,
have been coming through the budget committee,
yep,
and I think in here, did it say you're supposed to bring it in front of the full board, which it eventually gets in front of the full board?
yep. I think you're referring to item number 6 on the second page.
Okay,
I have it up there. It's been in there before, he's not changing anything. It's
Okay.
just- It's always been noted that they should come before the board by no later than October 31st to present their budget to the board.
Yep.
But we did bring them in finance early now.
we,
so they-
yeah, so we're going through the finance committee, and then the full board sees
Yep.
the outcome of that budget, and just so that's,
Mm-hmm.
because we would like to continue, to me, that's the step process we want to continue with.
So the only thing we added to that section was just that if the Soil and Water Board wasn't available, that the authorized representatives of the board would present the budget.
Madam Chair, I got a question. They still have their $300,000 cash stash somewhere?
There's the 388,000 that was residual from the merger, yes.
Okay, just checking,
Yep,
'cause
no,
that-
it's
that-
allocated in the budget books.
that goes back to 2012, so. Okay,
The other thing that we talked about too was the vehicle.
Yes. And
We're going to try to do the vehicles through the county now. Yeah,
I got my paper.
and then have that.
Yes, the county
Because-
vehicle, we did have a discussion during budget.
Yeah.
Because we never knew, once they merged with us, they brought some vehicles. Are they paying for them? Then Adam was trying to look for money. I didn't even know when Tim was here, he was trying to find money. So as the finance committee, we just decided that since they are part of the county, let's just earmark a vehicle for them like we did much with the custodial truck. So that they have one going forward. Whether he budgets it in his or we do it in the general pool with the motor pool and just earmark it P&Z, or I mean soil and water.
Yeah, and so I think we gotta make that a change to the 605 budget, yeah, cause I think there's $10,000 budgeted in 605 yet. We took it out of P&Z for the county, but not 605 yet.
We'll
So,
have
and
to-
that was maybe part of this discussion here today, so, yep,
Yeah,
I'll check, but I think after your meeting last week,
sure. So if I'm understanding this correctly, we'll allow you guys some time to review this and maybe bring it to the next work session again and incorporate those changes and then figure out the next steps from there.
yeah.
We figured it's to take a couple steps because it's been 5, 6, 7 years maybe since
Yeah.
it's been reviewed. So, yeah, we'll incorporate those changes. So if there's no other comments right now, we'll get the paper copies to you guys and then bring it back for another work session to incorporate those changes then.
Very good.
Okay?
Randy, did you have a question? No?
No.
I seen your arm going. I didn't know if I missed it.
I'm good.
Okay. Are we ready for the second item then?
Yes.
Okay, so the Soil and Water is looking at bringing on an additional staff member to assist with the workload, specifically targeting the riparian areas around lakes and streams, doing cost share projects or outreach or a variety of different things. Our proposal here is that it would be an additional staff, but the Soil and Water would cover this 100% with grant funds. We've crunched these numbers in many ways, and we have adequate funds in our grants to cover an additional position at this time. Part of the process, because it is new, is that we come before the full board at a work session before we do the final approval. We've gone to the Personnel Committee twice or maybe 3 times now to hash this over, and I don't know if you guys have any additional comments, but I think we're about ready to move forward as long as we get the formal blessing and we can bring this back to next regular meeting for the formal approval. If you have any questions or anything, I can try to answer them or get you the additional information, but outside of that, it would be 100% grant funded.
One of our conversations was, to making room for another person downstairs. It's getting tight.
We're working through that, moving stuff around, hauling stuff out, and kind of doing some reorganizing, getting prepped to hopefully have adequate space to put another technician down there.
Okay, so that was my question I was gonna ask. You got room down there?
It's tight. We're still learning, but we think we'll be able to find a little bit of space for somebody to be down there.
Any other questions, comments? Bring it to the board meeting.
Yep,
Put
we'll bring
on
it to the
the-
next board meeting. Perfect.
Very good.
Thank you. Did I make that quick enough?
Yeah, you did great. Thank you.
All right, thanks again.
Yeah, thank you, Adam.
And Jolene should be up shortly with color markup, printed copies with the red line, so you
Oh,
can see it.
yeah. I think it's just easier to review it.
Does anybody know when we're gonna get our numbers on the census?
I don't even hear anything about census.
I was thinking it was gonna be September. I was
I
thinking
was
for
too.
some reason mid-September.
I think I heard in one of our conferences, it's pushed back.
Yeah.